You're kind of a pro at the microphone thing.
Yeah. Getting better.
What advice would you give to someone who is looking to move to the Wildwoods on a strict budget?
Advice I'd give someone on a strict budget to the Wildwoods, I would probably say it's the same advice I'd give really to anybody that's looking to move on a strict budget. You certainly have to go into it with a plan. I think that's the most important thing. You almost have to give yourself a self budget. Okay, what am I looking for specifically in a property? Whether it's a condo, single family home, multi-family home. What kind of price point am I looking at here? And within all of that, where and what does that get me? So if I want to be, let's say I want to be 2 or 3 blocks to the beach. I want to make sure I have at least 2 bedrooms and 2 baths, or 2 bedrooms and 1 bath. What does that all look like? And I think once you start to put that into form, onto paper, you then reach out to a real estate agent, the Ferzoco group, our team. If you have someone that you've worked with, or a friend or family member, hopefully we're that friend or family member of an agent, then that's like your next step, because then it becomes, okay, what does this is what I've put down on paper. This is my comfortable monthly nut. What does that look like? So what does that get me? And I think once you get that, and whether it's in the Wildwoods or that's really any town, what's my next step after that? And I think that once you can put it into paper for your plan as the buyer, you then reach out to an agent and let them say to you, okay, this is what's available there. And then, of course, most importantly, then the next step after that is speaking to a lender. Maybe you're cash too, so it doesn't have to fall into place into a lender. But if you're not cash and you're looking to do it through a lender, then reach out to a lender. Make sure that the lender and what they're seeing jives with what you put on paper before you even reached out to a real estate agent. I think, and then if those two, are equal, if those two are married, then great. Then you can move forward with what the real estate agent sent you to move forward with the purchase.
Great. Are there any common pitfalls, or what are some common financial pitfalls that someone might make while purchasing a home?
I would say one of the most common pitfalls that we can see, and it's almost like it's not so much an oversight so much as it's a pitfall, that we go through life. Everybody, you're going through life, you're cruising along, and then you go to apply for a mortgage, and all of a sudden the lender comes back and says, hey, you have a ding on your credit report. And you're like, you're looking at him or her, and you're like, what are you talking about? Like, I pay my mortgage on time, my credit cards, this, that, and the other thing, and all of a sudden it's something from, I'll use the example, it's a medical bill or something from 3 years ago that either you forgot about, or it just it was an oversight. Maybe you thought your health insurance company was going to take care of it, and all of a sudden now this has been dinged on your credit report, and you don't even realize it. You don't even know that it's there, and you're talking to your real estate agent. You put your budget together, you talk to your real estate agent, you've kind of come up with a game plan of what you want to do when it comes to purchasing a property, and then it's like, okay, great, let's reach out to the lender, and you've already gone out and looked at property, and you've decided this is the one, and then you reach out to the mortgage person, and they're like, yeah, you can't afford that. And it's almost like it's a blind side more than a pitfall. So that is it's not common. I would say that's probably one of the most, it's actually kind of devastating, to be honest with you, when that happens to a buyer, because then it's like, okay, now I've got to wait 6 months. I've got to battle with the credit report. I've got to get that paid off, or now I'm going to work with my mortgage broker to get my credit score back up, because I've got this blemish that I didn't even know it existed.
Yeah.
that
Di-
can sometimes be tough.
How often do you run into that? You said it's not very common. Is it
No,
like
it's
10% or just once a year? Or
I would say it's yeah, probably like once a year that we run into something like that where again it's this unknown. And it could be, like I said, 2, 3, 4 years ago. You don't even. Some people don't even remember it. They're like, what? And I mean, there are there can be other examples where it's based on personal situations and stuff like that. But really, something like the medical is something because you think someone else is taking care of it, and then it doesn't. You get a couple of bills or something that maybe says this is not a bill, and you're expecting someone else to pay for it, and then it doesn't, and then poof, before you know it, you've got a hit, and you don't even realize it. So.
and how do you deal with that as a realtor? Do you just tell the person, "Hey, we'll come back to this in a year or two. Maybe your score gets moved up"? Or...
Well, I think you deal with it from a perspective of what are they looking for? I mean, if it's a primary residence, obviously that really goes on hold. Number two, hopefully they're working with your preferred lender. We have two that we use, Tom Silk and Kasha Roxas, that we use those guys. And hopefully they're working with them. So throughout this process, let's say 4, 5, 6 months, that they're bettering their credit score. If bettering is even a word. But they're improving their credit score. They're working on that. So when they get to that position where it's like, okay, that now either is gone or it doesn't really affect their ability now to get a mortgage, you can then pick up where you left off and continue to move forward. And really, whether it's a primary or a secondary mortgage, I mean, that's kind of what you're hoping that they're doing that. If they're not working with your primary lender, then you just stay in constant communication. You're in communication with them. Where are they? What's the status update? To be very honest with you, I would not. You have, if you're purchasing with financing and you're looking and you have something like the scenario we've talked about here, you're not going out and looking at property. No matter how much they want to look at this property and they love this property, great. We'll watch it. We'll see if it's still available. When the time comes that your credit score is correct, because you're gonna go out, you're gonna look at it, and you can't buy it, and that sucks. It really does. But you can't do anything about that. So all you can do is just kind of stay in communication with them, keep them in the loop, make sure they keep you in the loop, and then when everything is rectified, boom, you jump right in and you make it happen.